So here I am in Twin Falls, Idaho. There's the Pine Bridge and this great rift. So impressive to me. I still remember the first time that I came here. I was like, wow, this is crazy. So people come and they just jump off that bridge day and night. I always love coming back here and seeing this area. And then you can see right down there, there's a little flag, one of those, what they call it, a windsock. That's sort of the landing strip where everyone tries to land when they base jump off the bridge. So, I am in Twin Falls, Idaho. I'm running my generator because it's actually kind of warm, so I'm just going to turn that off. So I am parked at a Walmart here that does allow overnighting, but I don't stay here during the day because I don't want to overstay my welcome, although there's an older RV that was there last night when I got here and was here when I got back this afternoon. And I decided to park over here because they were shaded by this tree, and there's this grass here which is fantastic. So I am back traveling again. The last video I did, I showed that I had done renovation work on my RV. You can see the paint job in the back. I'm so glad that I painted the decals over these. I haven't seen any more peeling. I think I've sealed them pretty well. So happy for that. This just looks so much better. Very, very happy about that. I decided to start traveling again. I was in Utah Valley for about 2 months, and in that time I had some mechanical work done on the RV. You know, older vehicles, they need upkeep, and I had to have the water pump replaced and a part called a harmonic stabilizer that I had never heard about. So I had my mechanic just do some, you know, investigation work, and they found both of those looked like they were showing indications of failing sooner rather than later type of thing. They weren't outright failing, and I just decided to go ahead and have, you know, new parts put in. So, you know, that was good. I also had a sensor on the rear differential dealing with anti-lock brakes. The anti-lock brake sensor on this thing just periodically would randomly come on. But I've also had this other weird sort of thing happening with the RV during the past year. In fact, it was coming up here that I began having weird transmission issues. These totally random transmission glitches would happen. So I actually took the RV to a mechanic shop. Actually, it was a transmission specialist in Boise about this time last year, and they couldn't find anything wrong with the transmission. So I ended up taking the RV, you know, through the Southwest during the winter and stuff, and a handful of other times I had this weird glitchy behavior happen. God damn it. And it started happening a little bit more often, and you know, so I went to my mechanic and I just asked them to look it over, and they're not a transmission specialist, and what I was describing didn't sound familiar to them. So I went to another transmission specialist and got some advice from him. And you know, it was one of those things where it was just frustrating because I couldn't get an answer with anyone. The one transmission guy thought it was maybe the rear sensor, that anti-lock sensor. He said, well, if that sensor is bad, it can send a signal to the transmission, which can cause it to hiccup, and we didn't know. So I got I got that sensor replaced and then decided to drive up to Idaho Falls and visit my mom. So I took off about 4 or 5 days ago, and drove up to Idaho Falls. Okay, here we go. Heading up to Idaho. I'm kind of sad because there's a group of feral cats back there that I've been feeding and getting to know, and they've gotten quite comfortable with me. I haven't managed to be able to pet them yet, but they come right up to me and walk around me, and I'm gonna miss them. They're so cute. I get chicken and I go throw at them, and they just love to come out. They've gotten closer to me. They're still feral cats, but they've gotten very used to me. The little calico one has actually started to vocalize. One of the interesting things that I've noticed about these cats is they don't vocalize very much at all. But the little calico one there actually came out to my RV, which I'm parked right there on the sidewalk, and I came out and it was just sitting there waiting for me, and it kind of vocalized. So, hi kitty cats. But they were there last year, and they'll be here again when I come back. Somebody else is providing them with food and water, which is nice, but you know, it's just like dry kibble, and I like to give them treats in the form of real meat. So that's kind of one of my favorite things to do for them. I got all the way up to Ogden. So I used to live in Ogden. So I stopped in Ogden, went to the gym that I used to go to, saw a few people there, and then got back on the road, and I didn't have that hiccup thing all the way up. It was totally normal. So I thought, okay, well, this is good. So I decided to move locations. I was over there, and I decided to move over here because this feels a little bit more secluded. They've got these planters right here. So I kind of feel like I've got this private little cove. So there's a van there, and there's a truck camper right there. So I left Ogden, and the hiccup thing happened a couple of times, and I was like, oh, it's not solved. So I ended up just continuing on up to Idaho Falls. It didn't happen anymore until I got close to Pocatello, and then it hiccuped a couple of more times. So I ended up going up to Idaho Falls. My mom is there, but I just spent the night at the Walmart. So there's a Walmart right off the freeway you go into, and it's a good little area because it's right by downtown. There are the falls downtown. There are these Japanese gardens. It's just this quaint old downtown area. It's just a very convenient area. And I ended up searching for a transmission place or a mechanic, and I found by chance there was an RV mechanic shop there just a half a mile from the Walmart. So I went in and I talked to them, and they were able to get me right in. I'm like, a miracle, right? Those things don't ever happen. Usually it's well, can you leave it with us for a week, or can you come back in 2 weeks type of thing because we're busy. Okay. Just right up here, Eagle Rock RV. Eagle Rock. I just had to wait for about an hour, and then they got me in, and I played him the audio clips of when I had captured it happening before. And so the guy had me go out with one of the mechanics on a drive just to see if perchance it would happen. So we drove 20 miles out of town and 20 miles back, and it didn't happen, of course. So they ended up contacting a transmission specialist that they work with, and when they described the intermittent problems, how it would happen really quick and randomly, he thought it was a thing called a neutral gear switch or sensor, something like that. They described it to me something like its job is to tell the transmission when the RV is in neutral, and that the transmission is in sort of a neutral safe place. But if it's going faulty, it can cause these weird erratic behaviors. So the transmission guy thought that that was probably what was going on, and the only way we would know is if I swapped the part out. Moment of truth. $300 fix. So the bearded guy is the mechanic. He was really nice. He's the one that went out with me and did the test drive. He did the work. He was a really nice guy. So I did that. It was $300. So, you know, this past month and a half, I've spent $2,000 on, you know, mechanic stuff, which I'm very grateful for because it keeps this thing working really nicely. And I decided not to wait around town. I got, just the next day, I left and I went over to Burley. Burley was about 120 miles away, so it was going to be a really good trip just to test it out, a good amount of time, and it didn't hiccup at all the way over. And so that was great. I have this fantastic parking place in Burley. It's just right in town, right on the freeway. It's a smallish town, but it's got a lot of services, and there's this fantastic parking place right along this field next to a big box motel. And I've parked there bunches of times in my travels. So I spent a day or two there and then drove here, which is 35 miles away, and it was perfectly normal again. So I'm really cautiously optimistic, and my plan is to head to Boise next, which is another 120 miles away. So that'll be another good leg on the journey of testing out this fix. And I'm excited because if everything continues to go well, I'm going to head over to the Oregon coast. I haven't been back there since 2020, and when I did go out there in my previous RV, there were forest fires, COVID was going on. This is just the craziest thing ever. On my journey up through the northwest here, I've been through some areas with a lot of smoke, but this is the closest to a fire I've been. It is causing all of this reddish orange. I mean, this is the way it looks, this reddish orange. There's actually particulate coming down. It just was like a war zone out there. And so I just didn't really get a chance to fully finish my exploration. So that is what I'm wanting to do with the rest of the summer. Today, I went and watched the base jumpers. That's the best thing to do when you get into town here. I'm telling you, going to the base jumpers is the really fun thing to do. Lots of people showing up. It's kind of windy, so there's only this one guy base jumping, but I'm gonna walk out with him. And the Prime Bridge, they actually allow people to jump off it here. It's called base jumping. Base jumpers enjoy the Prime Bridge as their launching pad for parachuting from the bridge to the canyon floor below. Base jumping is a sport involving the use of a parachute to jump from fixed objects. BASE is an acronym that stands for the 4 categories of fixed objects from which one can jump: building, antenna, span, and earth. The Prime Bridge spans the majestic Snake River Canyon, 486 feet above the river, and is the only man-made structure in the United States where base jumping is allowed year-round without a permit.
Like on the far side of the bridge on that little overhang?
Yeah, right
That's
over
where
that
I'm
wall.
going to be.
Okay, I'll be there too.
So let's just, yeah.
All right.
So you guys can take...
Charlie, are you going to be up on the bridge?
Yeah.
All right, you relay to us.
Beautiful.
That's where they're gonna land, right down there. And he made it.